Hello, dear viewers. Thank you for joining us. You're watching OBN Horn of Africa. This is Talk to OBN Show, our weekly edition. Today, I joined by Honorable Farah Malim, former Deputy Speaker of Kenyan Parliament. Farah Malim, good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, could you tell us a bit about yourself before directly going to the question?
I am a former Deputy Speaker of the Kenyan Parliament and currently the Deputy Party Leader for a parliamentary party called Wiper Democratic Movement.
You know, Ethiopian politics, as your hands parliament, TPLF is a big elephant in the room these days and making trouble here and there. What do you know about TPLF ever since the day it starts operating in Ethiopian parliament?
I have known of TPLF. I've known about TPLF since they came to power and since the Mengistu regime was deposed. And TPLF originally was supported very much by the former Somali ruler or some Somali strongman, Siad Barre. And they were seen as a genuine liberation movement that wanted to liberate its people from the shackles of oppression and brutality and a lot of ills that Ethiopia was associated with under Haile Selassie initially and later on under Mengistu Haile Mariam. But since coming to power, TPLF has become the all-time most brutal, it became literally the terrorist organization for the whole of the Horn of Africa. They terrorized the Ethiopians across the board, all nationalities, the Amhara, the Somali, the Oromo, the Afar, the Benishangul Gambela, the Sidama, all of them, they terrorized them. And not only did they leave the terrorism within Ethiopia, but they also went to the countries in the neighborhood. They waged a war on Eritrea. They also similarly brutalized the Somalia in unspeakable times. They killed more than 40,000 Somalis in Mogadishu when they did that incursion or occupation of Somalia. Thank God at the end of the day, the Somalis fought them very hard and threw them out of Somalia. But TPLF is literally the all-time terrorist mafia that we've had in this part of the region of the world, the Horn of Africa. They cost more than 100,000 lives in the war and on that unnecessary war that they waged on Eritrea. And they did all these biddings for the West. They were basically the mercenary, blue-eyed, pampered boys of the West.
Okay, you told us all the evil doings of this TPLF, but still the Westerners, the European Union and the United States are backing up TPLF again. What is your reflection on this?
Well, TPLF did all the dirty jobs for those countries. They did it. You see, you have to understand that America and Europe are built on the backs of black slaves and black colonies. America is what it is today, as well as the whole of the Americas. Europe is what it is today because of the slave labor and because of the natural resources that were extracted from Africa. So they were looking for a kind of an outfit that they can use to fight all the proxy wars for them in the region. And in the Horn of Africa, they found Eritrea, they found TPLF. And TPLF is the one which now went around brutalizing everybody in the region. The Eritrean president, Isaias Afwerki, is one of the few African leaders who understood the West in their own true colors. And they wanted to tame him, but they had to get somebody, they had to use another force to tame him. And that's why TPLF was contracted by the Americans to wage the war on Eritrea. They did a similar thing on Sudan. They did a similar thing on South Sudan. they were supposed to keep Somalia as a failed state for forever, so that the West can access the mineral resources of Somalia. And they did that job very well also. So basically, the West supports the TPLF and is opposed to any progressive forces in the African continent. And for the whole of Africa, the biggest nemesis right now, the people they don't want to have anything to do with and want to get rid of them as soon as possible, are the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Dr. Abiy Ahmed. Because of coming up with a Pan-Africanist, genuine, progressive ideas. And the other person is President Afwerki of Eritrea. And the other one is Farmajo, who has also come up, Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo, who has also come up with progressive ideas for his country and the region at large. And the need also to integrate the region so that we don't look outwards, we don't look to Europe for development, we look inward, we look into Africa for development, integrating the infrastructure of Africa and making the African easily move from one country to the other country to trade and movement of people and goods. They don't want that. Okay. They would rather have a francophone country before. You see, if you are in before now, if you are in Congo DRC and you want to travel to Senegal, you first of all have to travel to Europe, go to France, and then come from France back to Senegal. And that's basically how it is. The British are also known for being neo-colonists. I mean, they were the most brutal colonialists when they were in Africa. They did all the steps and all that, but now again, they want to control the continent and take the resources of the continent.
What is the intention of America? Is that rescuing TPLF, or they do have big plans to? No,
they don't care about TPLF, or they don't care about any African. They use Africans against Africans for their own strategic and economic strategies. Not because they want to assist TPLF, no. They paid to TPLF, they were paying to TPLF almost $3 billion every year as a pure grant.
But still there.
That money was never accounted for. And the idea is not because they want them for Ethiopia to develop and Ethiopia to become a very progressive middle-income country. No, they wanted Ethiopia to be brutalized the way TPLF brutalized them. They wanted Eritrea to be brutalized. They wanted Somalia, South Sudan, Khartoum, all those countries to be kept in some kind of. And TPLF was the mercenary force that was doing the bidding for the Western neo-colonialism of today.
TPLF for about 2 decades and a half, has been destabilizing the country, balkanizing each region in small entities, and displacing huge amount of people from different corners of the country. Why America failed to yield that time? For instance, huge number of Oromo have been displaced from Somalia. That time they never yet saying a humanitarian crisis in Somalia. But today they are yelling now and then about Tigrayan people. Can you tell me the secret behind the connection between this, the US and TPLF?
The US needs Tigray to implement for them their own desires and their own strategic plans for the Horn of Africa. They're using Tigray or TPLF as a mercenary force, mark my words, mercenary force. They pay them very well. They give them a lot of grants. They allow them to take all the resources of all the other regions of Ethiopia, and they had what we call the reconstruction of Tigray. There's no any other region in Ethiopia that has got the reconstruction of that or this.
For example,
it's not reconstruction of.
People were jailed alive in jail Ogaden. You know that tragic.
I know that. There was no reconstruction. When it comes to human rights violations, the worst violations took place in the Somali state, in Ogaden. There was jail Ogaden.
Exactly.
They brutalized, they raped the women, they killed the men, they tortured everybody, they took away their livestock. They did all the awful things that have never been done since the Second World War to any human race. Not even a country like Yugoslavia, where there was massive abuses. The scale was anywhere near close to what was done in the Somali state. The Americans never talked about it for once. On the contrary, they assisted TPLF and gave them more money so that they can continue brutalizing other nationalities there. They did the same to Oromo. They did the same to Benishangul Gumus. They did the same to Gambela. They did massive, what you call, human rights violations and terrorized the Amhara, the Afar, everybody.
Okay.
So when they talk about this now, they're merely trying to save their own lapdogs, the people that they were using before.
Again, sorry for the interruption. With what caliber would America denounce and downgrade this administration while TPLF is doing all that evil still supported by the US? And it's very paradox for the global community. You understand what I'm saying?
No. The paradox was there. The contradiction was there from the beginning. Let me tell you one thing. Our old president, the first president of independent Kenya, was called Jomo Kenyatta. Jomo Kenyatta said the white man came to us with the Bible and we had the land. And he told us to close our eyes so that we can pray. And when we opened our eyes, we had the Bible and we had the land. You know what I mean?
Give us
all the stuff they talk about democracy, human rights, those things do not make any accountability. Then it's absolute nonsense because they never practice and they will never practice. This is supposed to cheat you. Now that the first truly democratic elections have been conducted in Ethiopia, instead of commending Abiy Ahmed, they don't want you to have a serious democracy anywhere in the world, other than their own countries. You see what I mean? So when you talk about democracy, when you talk about economic emancipation or economic empowerment of your people, when you talk about human rights, when you talk about the rule of law, they don't want that. That is only for them. It's an exclusive. They are the chosen people of God according to them. We are Africans. We are the third world people. We are lesser humans. We are savages, and we are there for their leisure. They are our natural resources are there for their consumption. Our own human capital was initially there for them, for us to work for them as slaves or as colonies. So you don't expect anything good to come from America. And if Abiy is waiting for the Americans to give him a pat on the back and say they've done democracy and human rights, no, that is not what they are looking for. They are looking for people to dominate. Okay. And Abiy does not want to allow that domination to be done. He wants to have a new, narrative for Africa.
Okay. On your last interview on that Horn Africa and other channels in Epteria, I guess, you've said, I know TPLF, the in and out of TPLF, and
I know TPLF, in and out of TPLF. I know what they have done very well.
You know what they have done in Somalia, in balkanizing small groups.
Yes,
and
yes.
Done in in South Sudan and in neighboring Ethiopia, and you know all their potential. Can you tell us their current status?
Well, they've been defeated. The Americans expected TPLF to take all the weapons and the army and everything and arms to Tigray and then to roll back into Addis Ababa and capture Addis Ababa within a matter of days, because they created this false narrative that they were very brave, they were the best fighters in the region, and basically nobody could stand on the way for them. And what happened? The whole TPLF machinery was destroyed in a matter of weeks. After they waged a war, after they imposed a war on Ethiopia by attacking the Northern Command. Even now, for TPLF to come back and come to its borders, because the Ethiopian government, in his own wisdom, Abiy decided to pull out of the region. Not that they came and took it by force, pull out of the region. And basically, their Waterloo, their real destruction is going to come if they try to go into the land that they annexed. Over the 30 years they were in power, from Humera, Wolkait, Raya. If they want to take that one back, for sure, the Ethiopian people are going to stand up against them and they'll be destroyed.
After the ceasefire, I mean the unilateral ceasefire, they just disseminated the false propaganda as if they took upper hand over the federal government and took, different parts of Tigray and even including the capital of the region, Mekelle. And still they are saying they are reclaiming land at the border of Amhara. Do they, able to control those captured places again?
I don't think they can come. They have no capacity. We saw them in Mogadishu when they tried to capture Somalia, and they were begging to be given an exit so that they could run away. And they finally just took off and ran for their lives after losing about 20,000 lives there. And so this false narrative, this fake, what do you call, feeling that they can capture other parts of the Ethiopia is nonsense. And I'm sure the Ethiopian government, the Ethiopian nationalities or nationalities who are there, are going to stand up firm against them. And definitely the national army, which is composed of Somalis, of Amhara, of Oromo, of Benishangul, of Sidama, and all of them, is going to deal with that kind of an imagined threat if they decide to threaten other parts of Ethiopia, because this land was never theirs from the beginning. They used the powers when they were in power through the EPRDF to expand on their own, what do you call, Tigray as a region, because Tigray was, Wolkait and Humera were never part of Tigray. It is understandable. There are certain other internal dynamics within Ethiopia itself, because the Agao, the Pimint, and the others would probably want to have their own nation if they feel that they have been oppressed by the Amhara. That's a different thing altogether. It's for them asking for their own region, like any other of the other 10 regions in Ethiopia. But not for Tigray to take over that area, no. They have a right to have a region of their own in that area, in Humera, in Wolkait, its environs, and that probably is one thing that Ethiopians need to live with, because there's so many communities that feel, for lack of a better word, oppressed and subsumed by other bigger communities. The Sidama for a long time were asking for a state of their own. Now they have their own state. So if the Wolkait, the people of Wolkait, the Kimint, and the what do you call, the Agao, want to have a state of their own, that is a different narrative altogether. It's something that Ethiopians need to deal with. And Amhara region had better be told that people's aspirations, self-determination within that, what do you call, construct itself is an important thing. But not for Tigray to take over those areas. No, they're not even part of Tigray.
Let's talk about the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Ethiopia has filled the second round today, and it was breaking news. And have you heard about it? And what do you say about it again?
No. But if you ask me whether the Ethiopians have a right to fill their own dam, yes, they have a right to fill their own dam.
Yeah.
They have a right to utilize the water whose source is their own country. This is the first time in the world we hear that you produce oil and the oil is supposed to be enjoyed by another country, not the country that where it originated from. I do understand oil does not flow like rivers, but people have even technology these days to drill from your country into another country to extract oil. And if the water that comes from the Ethiopian highlands is not supposed to be enjoyed by Ethiopians themselves, it's a big joke. It's a very big joke. Ethiopia needs the energy. It's time Egypt and Sudan and the international community come to a certain realization that you cannot stop Ethiopia from enjoying the utilization of its own resources.
Okay, now onward, the negotiation is going to be chaired by the African Union. And would the African Union efficiently manage this round table? Do you think that?
I have no doubt in my mind, yes, if you put in the right countries. No, don't pick, some small banana states in the continent which are dependent on Western support and Western, aid and grants, and who can easily be bribed. But of course, there are many countries, South Africa and many other countries, Nigeria, Senegal, all the big countries, Algeria in the continent will not allow the West to begin now controlling Africa again through this kind of proxies. And I think the African Union is well qualified to deal with that. But of course, in a format that essentially is devoid of any intimidation or any bribing, because these days international bribing is too common.
It was Egypt who took the agenda to the World Bank and to the United States. Why Egypt counted stress upon the US than the African Union?
Because there's no democracy. They overthrew a democratically elected country. That man is a military dictator. He has the support of the West. Sufficient for you to know that the West does not care about democracy or human rights. They only care about their own interests. The relationship with Israel is now one that is determined by Israel. Egypt and Israel and the Gulf states are more or less one now against the poor Palestinians and all the other the Arab countries that are also being brutalized, like Egypt, Libya and Syria and Iraq and the rest of them. So Egypt is basically a client state. It's just there to be told by America what to do, and they will do that. They just told them jump, and they will only ask how high. And that's why the Americans are protecting them. Exactly what TPLF was doing for them is what it's going to do now in the Arab what they call Arab group. Because Egypt has sent forces into Libya. Egypt is making life impossible and difficult for the Palestinians, because the Palestinians can no longer count on the support of Egypt and Egyptians. And they're being brutalized by Israel every day. You see what happens in Gaza. TPLF was playing the role that Israel plays for America in the Middle East, but in the Horn of Africa. TPLF was doing exactly what Israel does for America, for the US in the Middle East. It was doing for them in the Horn of Africa.
TPLF is a pro-Egyptian and pro-Egypt when it comes to this very politics. And it's very fun for us. And what do you say about it?
Look, the person who started this dump is Meles Zenawi. Meles Zenawi was the head of TPLF. At that time, America and the West did not tell Ethiopia not to continue with that project. Today, when Abiy comes to power, the whole Western world is hell-bent on making sure that this Rhinozo Dam does not achieve its own projected success for Ethiopia. Why? Ask yourself, why this double standard? Why didn't they do what they're doing right now when Meles was in power? Because Meles was the one who constructed it. But the difference is that when Meles was doing these things, TPLF was a mercenary force for America and for the West. So they were the blue-eyed boys. So they could not be questioned. And right now they want to marshal all the support and all the forces against Ethiopia. Thank God Kenya has seen the light. My own country has seen the light. And Kenya is now standing by Ethiopia at the international fora. You see what I mean?
Yes.
And of course, other African countries are also going to see the light. But initially, they wanted to create hostile countries around Ethiopia.
After the reform, the new administration, which is headed by Abiy Ahmed, is striving to bring regional and continental unity and promoting the Pan-African movement agenda. But the Westerners gave blind eyes and deaf ears for this. What do you have in your mind about it?
Well, everything that Abiy is saying right now is not music to the ears of the Western world, not to the Europeans, not to the slave traders and the slave owners and the and the colonizers, they will not accept a powerful African continent. No. A Pan-African project, as Abiy is now trying to promote, is against their own interests. The Francophone want all the French countries to take their resources to France. The Anglophone and the British, they have now left even the European Union. They want all their resources to be taken to that place. The Americans want to control everything, including those two countries, including France and the UK also. So you can imagine, these are vultures, these are wolves, these are animals who want to suck your blood. So every time you say, I'm going to be free myself, they will not accept that, and they will not support such a person. They will oppose you. And they will create all sorts of opposition by paying African mercenaries to fight. You see, look, Amilcar Cabral, Patrice Lumumba, every African, what they call leader, Mandela, and all these people were opposed by their own people. The West propped up their own people against them. Mulande Zikiwe, and now all those coups you used to hear in Africa were generated by the West, were generated by Americans and by Europeans. So wherever you are an African who really wants to change Africa, there is no way these people are going to support you, no way.
Honorable Farah Malim, former Speaker of Kenyan Parliament, thank you for making time to give us this.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Any day. You're welcome.
Take care.
Thanks a lot.
Once again, thank you for joining us. This brings you the end of our edition for today. Have a wonderful time. Bye-bye.